The first story is the Dallas Cowboys may have just signed the fastest RB in the NFL. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Dallas Cowboys news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is the Dallas Cowboys could be making a huge signing and trade for a new running back and QB. The Dallas Cowboys offseason is winding down just as NBA free agency is heating up. One thing we often see in the NBA is 3-team trades, which is not common in the NFL. Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox put together a list of hypothetical multiple franchise NFL trade proposals. One of the intriguing deals includes the Cowboys, Detroit Lions, and Arizona Cardinals. The Cowboys trade wide receiver Brandon Cooks and a 2025 third-round selection in the deal. Dallas receives Lions wideout Donovan Peoples-Jones, Detroit running back Craig Reynolds, Lions quarterback Hendon Hooker, and a 2026 third-round pick. The Cardinals are sending star safety Budda Baker to Detroit in this wild 3-team trade proposal. Arizona nets Cooks, the Cowboys' 2025 third-rounder, and a 2025 fifth-round selection. Let's dive into whether this proposed deal makes sense for the Cowboys. The most notable part of the trade is Dallas landing a 26-year-old quarterback in Hooker. Fans may remember Hooker as a standout collegiate quarterback at Tennessee. Hooker fell to the 3rd round of the 2012 turn now 123 draft after sustaining a torn ACL on November 19, 2022, which ended his final season with the Vols. Craig Reynolds is determined, cutting runner with patience, vision, balance, and good acceleration. Extremely competitive. Makes the most of every opportunity. Takes the handoff and quickly identifies where to go with the ball and hits the holes hard. Hammered the line of scrimmage in preseason action. Can cut and really get going. One-gear runner. It takes a real effort to bring him down, or he will just keep running until he is stopped. Can stay on his feet and make defenders miss. Does not look to go out of bounds. Had a 35-yard run against Denver, which was the longest run the Broncos have allowed this season. Willing to stick his nose in there and block in pass pro. Catches most everything that is thrown at him out of the backfield. Nice-looking receiving option out of the backfield. Solid back who gives it everything he has. Looks like he does everything he is asked to do. Despite the injury, Hooker already threw for a career-high 3,135 yards, 27 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions in 11 appearances. Hooker also proved to be a serious threat with his legs notching at least 600 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns in back-to-back seasons in 2020 and 2021. The playmaking quarterback posted 430 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns in 2022 prior to his ACL injury. Hooker would give Dallas another young quarterback to pair with Trey Lance, given Dak Prescott's uncertain future. He's still showing signs of improvement and growth at the position, and his ability to hurt teams with his legs creates opportunities to help his offense outside of what he does in the pocket. His recovery from the ACL tear will require monitoring, but he has the talent to become a starter in a timing-based spread offense. It would make sense for Dallas to want to have more insurance behind Prescott at quarterback. Like Prescott, Lance is slated to be a free agent in 2025. Prescott's status could change if he signs a contract extension. The challenge with this deal is that moving on from Cooks leaves the Cowboys even more thin at receiver. Michael Gallup signed with the Las Vegas Raiders after being released by Dallas this offseason. Peoples-Jones struggled with production last season with the Lions and Cleveland Browns. The wideout did post career-high numbers with 61 receptions for 839 yards and 3 touchdowns during 17 appearances for the Browns in 2022. Cooks is on the final season of a 2-year $39.7 million contract with a $10 million cap hit in 2024. The second story is Dallas Cowboys' second-year player named Dark Horse at WR. By now, it is no secret that the Dallas Cowboys have major questions at wide receiver entering training camp. There are concerns that CeeDee Lamb could hold out into training camp, and the depth chart is filled with unproven players at the position. Former third-round pick Jalen Tolbert, 2023 seventh-round pick Jalen Brooks, Pro Bowl return specialist Kavontae Turpin, and 2024 sixth-round pick Ryan Flournoy will compete for the WR3 job when the Cowboys head to Oxnard, California in late July. But there is a dark horse candidate that fans should keep an eye on. Enter David Durden, who joined the Cowboys as an undrafted free agent out of West Florida following the 2023 NFL Draft. Durden's opportunity to make a splash during his rookie season took an early hit after an ACL injury suffered late in training camp. Before the injury, he had been generating plenty of hype. Kalen Kaler at The Athletic had identified Durden as the most overlooked prospect in last year's draft class. Now, he's being named as a potential dark horse in Big D as he aims to remind everyone what got the hype train rolling. Durden checks in at 6'1", 204 pounds, and has 4.4 speed. He can line up all across the formation for the Cowboys and is scheduled to be a full participant in this year's training camp. A case can be made. Durden is both a safe pick and, simultaneously, a high-reward pick. His measurables sell his ceiling, but his maturity, versatility, and experience give him a relatively solid floor, the Cowboys Wire writes. Assuming he's recovered from his offseason knee surgery, Durden should be the mix for Dallas's WR competition. He's a dark horse no one should sleep on because he has all the quality of an ideal bottom-of-the-roster WR prospect. He will have multiple ways to impact the roster. We'll just have to see how healthy he can remain. During his collegiate career, the 25-year-old was a two-time first-team All-Gulf South Conference and one-time first-team Southern Conference honoree. In his final season, Durden recorded 1,128 yards and 13 touchdowns on 54 catches. The Dallas Cowboys held a workout for 4 players on Tuesday as they worked to fill remaining spots on the roster going into training camp. The 4 workouts included defensive end Jonathan Garvin, defensive end Wyatt Ray, defensive end Derek Robertson, and running back fullback John Lovett. Garvin, who played this past spring in the UFL with the Birmingham Stallions, recorded 20 tackles and 3.5 sacks for the UFL champions. Originally a product of Miami, Garvin was drafted in the 7th round by the Green Bay Packers in the 2020 NFL Draft. In 3 seasons in the NFL, Garvin recorded 32 tackles and 1.5 sacks. He was released in July 2023 before landing in the UFL. Ray, who played this past spring in the UFL with the San Antonio Brahmas, recorded 24 tackles and 5.5 sacks, tied for 6th in the UFL last season. Ray was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Cleveland Browns out of Boston College in 2019, but was waived after his rookie training camp. He would then find his way to 8 different NFL teams, including 15 game appearances with the Cincinnati Bengals, 5 appearances with the Tennessee Titans, and 3 appearances with the Denver Broncos. He is the grandson of legendary jazz singer Nat King Cole and the nephew of Natalie Cole. Robertson, who played this past spring in the UFL with the DC Defenders, recorded 32 tackles and 4.5 sacks. A native of San Antonio, Robertson attended Sam Houston State before going undrafted in 2019. He made 16 game appearances with the Tennessee Titans and recorded 26 tackles and 4.5 sacks in his time in the league. He played 1 season with the Houston Roughnecks of the XFL in 2023 before being sent to DC this past season. Lovett, who played this spring in the UFL with the San Antonio Brahmas, was 5th in the league in rushing with 423 yards and 2nd in the UFL with 5 rushing touchdowns. Lovett played his college ball at Baylor and Penn State, where he rushed for 1,280 yards and 17 touchdowns in 5 seasons. He signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers out of college as an undrafted free agent before being released after his rookie training camp. The Cowboys have 88 players on the roster with 4 weeks left until the team departs for training camp. But they can technically sign 3 more players with a roster exemption from International Pathway Program player Denzel Daxon. The third story is Cowboys' Micah Parsons fire shots at teammate over podcast comments. 2 of the Dallas Cowboys starting defenders are at odds after Malik Hooker and Micah Parsons both talked about each other's podcasting. Parsons is known for his loud and honest personality, but Hooker was the one to criticize first. Hooker appeared on NFL legend Keyshawn Johnson's All Facts No Breaks podcast on June 28th. During the podcast, Hooker spoke honestly about Parsons' podcasting and how he believes it is a distraction. "My advice for Micah would be just make sure we're all right," Hooker said. "Because if we're at work and the run game's terrible, but you're doing a podcast every week and you know the run game is terrible, then what are you really caring about? Are you caring about the crowd that was watching the podcast? Or are you caring about the success of our team and the Super Bowl that we're trying to reach?" While some may think it's a valid comment, saying it in such a public way is bound to create controversy. And as one might expect, the Cowboys star did not waste much time in terms of formulating a response.